All right, gamers, we pumping these bad boys out. Today I'm here with a who should you summon? I know people love these videos. They love hearing people's thoughts on it. And well, here are my thoughts. And my thoughts are, just to give you a TLDR, summon for Acheron. She's awesome. If you don't like her, fair enough. Summon for Jingliu, who's top DPS in the game. She's top three, right? So yeah, right. The only person that's really above her is like Dan in some cases. Otherwise, Jingliu's number one. But besides the point, yeah, that's just a TLDR. Summon for Acheron if you don't like her. You can summon for Jingliu if you don't like either one of them. Then I guess you're skipping this update because I don't really know what you would be doing. I know people are gonna debate between Aventurine and Luocha. Generally, Luocha's still pretty strong, but Aventurine kind of power creeps Luocha in a few regards. But it's more like at higher investment, Aventurine would be better versus lower investment, Luocha will be better. And there's more nuance to that or like specifics. But generally, that's sort of how you can look at it. Is that Luocha's good, but if we were to pull up everyone's favorite tier list, right, Pride one, there's an example. Is that I would move Ho Ho up and put Aventurine here and leave Luocha in S tier. I think the other sustains are better, just purely because Aventurine kind of takes over what Luocha wants to do, right? So that's basically the TLDR. It's a bit more complicated than that though, because again, we've got some very, very interesting banners and a lot of rewards going on this update. So there's a lot to talk about, right? And this might get a little long. I'm not sorry, but I like to yap, yap Demon 12, camera. So yeah, that being said, oh, where did my Star Rail station thing go? Am I dumb? Wait. No? I am dumb. All right, chat, it's right here. It's right here. My bad. My bad. My bad. All over the place. A lot of very cool new information that I'm hyped about. So we have our first phase banners being Acheron and Luocha with Gallagher, Pela, and Dan Hung. And the weapon banner is obviously going to be separate, with Luocha's weapon banner, Acheron's weapon banner, Good Night Sleep Well, post op, and subscribe for more. And I actually did accurately predict this. I had to change Dan because I thought it was going to be Yukong. And in terms of Good Night Sleep Well and post op, I guessed, but I was hoping that instead of subscribe for more, it was Trend Universal Market because Trend Universal Market has synergy with Acheron, right? But the banners, even without those two additions, are actually pretty good. The other 4-star in here didn't really matter, but I would have preferred Trend on here, but this is still a pretty good banner because post-op's good and Good Night Sleep Well is good. As for the other banner, it is Aventurine and Jingliu with their two signature weapons, and it has Lynx, Luca, Serval, and it has the new light cone, which I actually forget what it's called. I don't know if it's on here. I forget what the light cone's called, but there's a new light cone. I think it's actually on the other one. Oh yeah, a concert for two. This is a new preservation light cone that is pretty solid for a 4-star. So yeah, there's that. There's shared feeling and then make the world clamor, I believe is what that last one is called. So yeah, in terms of my just straight up opinion, I do think Acheron is worth it. She's very strong. Just like every other character, you have to build their team for her, right? You have to build the team around them. And so keep that in mind. And it's good because, and right, here's the thing. Acheron's best teammates are already on the banner for the most part, right? Obviously, Aventurine, if you have looked at the information, is better, and especially if you get Eidolons for him, right? Without Eidolons, it's here nor there. He's a 5-star sustain, so obviously very strong. But Acheron being Acheron and her banner is really good to summon even if you are free to play because it has Pela, who's one of the best 4-stars in the game, and it has Gallagher, who's a new 4-star healer who is really solid, right? So because of that, and because of how these two characters work with Acheron, I'd say this is definitely a banner worth summoning on, right? Both of these characters have great synergy with Acheron, and so you're gonna want someone with it. In fact, Pela's like her best teammate, and there's multiple reasons for that. The weapon banner is the same thing. I think this weapon banner is worth summoning for because of Good Night Sleep Well and it having post op. Again, this won't apply to everybody, especially because again, this isn't Trend. It would have been way better if it was Trend in Universal Market. But this will be a general use good banner because Good Night Sleep Well hasn't been here for forever. I think it was like 1.2 when it like last time it was on the banner. Crazy. But they have paired it up with Acheron's signature light cone. So even if you don't get to Acheron's signature light cone, you still have a good chance at getting her next best option or third best option being Good Night Sleep Well. So we'll help you build up copies of Good Night Sleep Well, not only for Acheron, but for other characters, right? So, there's a lot, worth something for. And then Post-Op is generally good for a bunch of sustains because it gives them energy recharge. Very good. As for the Jingliu and what's his name, Adventurine banner, Lynx is free, and I don't really think you need her Eidolons, although they do help her with her buffing, especially with using her with like Blade, for example, right? The aggro increase, the attack increase, all that stuff, and the HP increase, right? Luca is more niche as he only wants to be used in the dot team and more specifically against physical, and you could use him as a breaker, but again, it's here nor there. He's not a character I'm really like excited about, and this isn't because of me not playing dot teams. I just don't think it's something that you really should be chasing. And then Serval is okay, right? I mean, you can argue she's better than Jingwang all day every day, but it is what it is. And then as for their weapon banner, Shared Feeling is also really good. Make the World Claymore, I don't think is that good of a weapon, to be honest with you. It's just because the energy recharge passive is kind of irrelevant, right? It will help you get like turn 1 ultimates, but other than that though, it only buffing ult damage is kind of a negative when you've got other light cones that just buff all damage, right? And then there's the new defensive light cone that will give you pure defense and something else. I forget off the top of my head, but it's not officially revealed yet. So that will be a later date. To further talk about this, right, because again, it's kind of complicated. So Dan, we already know he's not that good. All right, he's just a basic 4-star DPS wind unit. I don't really need to talk about him. But Pela, I'm going to talk about why she's good with Acheron and why you definitely want to get copies of her. So one of the main things here for Pela and Acheron is the fact that Pela gives 42% defense at level 12 talents, and at level 10 it's 40%, right? This is huge, especially when you combine it with the light cone for Nihility, the Resolution Shines and Pearls of Sweat, right? The Luca light cone. This will give you a chance on your basic attack to apply a debuff. This will help Pela and Acheron synergy so that Pela can apply a debuff more consistently and again stack defense shred, because stacking defense shred is very, very powerful. The more defense shred you stack, the more damage it is. It grows in power the more you stack it, right? So that is very strong, and that's where the main synergy comes in here. Added with the fact that Pela has multiple sources of energy recharge that you can give to her, like her passive, or sorry, it's her trace, right? Yeah, if they die, right? Or sorry, if the enemy is debuffed after Pela attacks, right? She gains energy, which is huge because this will again help her get her ultimate faster, which obviously will make you apply more debuffs, right? So really good for Acheron. And then there's her trace that buffs effect hit rate. And the reason why this is good is because you want to use other Nihility characters. And well, your other Nihility characters, on top of the fact that Pela needs effect hit rate for that light cone, will receive a buff to their effect hit rate so that you have a better chance to apply your effect, right? And meet your thresholds. It makes the builds easier. It makes the whole team better because obviously if it has base chance, you need effect hit rate to apply it, right? It's just going to make that better. So she has got insane synergy with her and is basically the #1 pick in all of her teams right now. I talked about my previous video in terms of new Nihility characters or like new characters in the future. And I genuinely think even in the future, if we do get new Nihility characters, it won't push Pela off the team. I think if anything, it pushes characters like Silverwolf off the team, but that depends purely on the nature of that character's buffs, right? So keep that in mind. Eidolons for Pela aren't really too important. This first one does help with energy if you defeat an enemy, right? There is one that if you remove a buff with skill, you can get a speed increase. That could help you with a couple of things. And the rest are just pretty much damage. And then there is a debuff on skill, but this doesn't matter for Acheron's team specifically. So yeah, again, Pela is going to be a great option. With the release of these new relics and other stuff, you can actually run a DPS Pela and have it be viable. However, for Acheron's teams, you're going to want to build your Pela more towards speed and support and tanking, right? So keep that in mind. As for Gallagher, Gallagher I can sort of talk about. He has multiple debuffs. He has a attack down on his enhanced basic, and he has a healing aura on his ultimate, right? That also increases break. I can't show you because I don't know how because they didn't reveal all the details, but pretty much he's pretty good. He has some unique scalings. He's more break focused, so keep that in mind that he's gonna be a more break character. But he's gonna be a free character that you'll be able to pick up via a selector. That is from the main event, right? And I believe, yeah, it's down here. So this is a selector. So even if you don't summon on the banner, you'll still have a chance at Gallagher. And I'll do a follow-up video on who you should select, right? But keep in mind that if you summon and get a lot of copies and you need like maybe one or two more, you can pick them up from the selector, right? I would say probably wait until you summon before picking up the character from the selector. And this probably won't even be out at launch. It might be a day or two, but just keep that in mind, right? Something to think about is that you have a potential to get Acheron's full team completely free, right? Pela's on the banner, Gallagher's on the banner, and then Gwen is a free pickup character. She's free right now, actually, from one of the events. So make sure you pick her up. I think she was the best pick, although you could have picked up Asta, right? So yeah, there is that. All right, so to quickly cover the light cones for this first half, right? We have Good Night Sleep Well, which is generally just a really good light cone on every Nihility character that wants to do damage, right? It can be really great for all of your DOT characters because it, again, works for DOT. This will give you up to, what, 72% damage percent, right? Pretty dang good. I'm just going to fact check myself real quickly. Yeah, 72%. So yeah, pretty damn good. Again, it's Acheron's third best 4-star. So if you don't get her weapon from the weapon banner, if you're unlucky, then you'll probably get a decent enough option to make her run. Again, she doesn't need her weapon, so if you don't want to get her weapon, that's fine. But it's a huge upgrade over other options, right? It's like 30. It's like anywhere from 20 to 30% more damage, and it helps with your ult rotation, right? So again, very big upgrade. And plus, and some people will ask the question, do I go for E1 or weapon? The answer is weapon. If you want get Eidolons for Acheron, go for weapon first, okay? So the process, if you are summoning for her, is get her weapon, and then go for Eidolons, all right? Just keep that in mind. You definitely want to get the weapon before. It's a bigger upgrade over the E1, but the E2 is where the power is at. But again, you still want to get her weapon. The other one is post-op. In case you guys don't know, this one gives you energy recharge and outgoing healing on your ultimate. So again, a lot of our current 5-star sustains don't even heal on their ultimate, but the energy recharge is the main reason you're getting this. And so it will be really good for your Luocha for, ult rotations, right? If you don't want to run this, of course, there's other options, but this is a pretty solid light cone. And then the last one, I actually forgot what it is subscribe for more. This one's kind of mid, not gonna lie. It gives you basic and skill damage, but we don't really have a hunt character that's primarily doing it. They're either doing follow-ups or, in Zila's case, your damage is split between your ultimate and skill. So this doesn't see much use, and it's kind of just worse than other options like Dance, who just gives you raw attack and crit, right? So yeah, it's not bad, but not something I would like to see. I much would have preferred for Trending Universal Market to be in the banner because this has synergy with Acheron, and this would have been nice to get refinements for, and because mine's S2, and I would have loved to see it at S5, giving me a whopping 32% damage and a higher base chance for the effect the proc, right? So yeah, it would have helped for any enemy that has like debuff resistance, right? So it is what it is. As for the other banner, right? It's Lynx, Luca, Serval. There's not really much to talk about here besides the fact that Luca is kind of locked to DOT teams and our Fizz break, right? I wouldn't use him with Acheron if you were hoping for that. He's not a good teammate for her. Not really. I don't know if I can show it, so I'm not going to, but he's one of the worst options for her. He like if we're putting him in a tier 1, 2, and 3, he's at tier 3. He's not good with her. So don't get your hopes up for that, right? He does have a damage taken debuff on his ult, but the application is the main issue, right? And all this other stuff, it's just not worth it. Again, Lynx is free, and I don't really think her Eidolons are all that crazy to really talk about, right? She's Quantum, right? Forgot. She looks like an ice character. Again, there's not really much to say here besides the E4, which is going to give you an attack boost on top, and the E6, which gives you effect res, which is very powerful, as well as, increased percentage, right? So, again, good, but not anything crazy. And then there's Serval, who, again, this banner is nowhere near as good as the first one, right? Her Eidolons will help you apply, shock and deal more damage, but it's nothing crazy. It's a 4-star DPS, right? So what can you really expect? As for the weapon banner, I can't show you the new weapon, just I'll tell you it gives you defense percent. And as for their respective weapons, right, the other ones, let's see, it's right here. Shared Feeling gives you outgoing healing for everything, so that's very beneficial. and then it gives you energy recharge for the whole team, up to 4 every time you use a skill. So pretty solid, especially on Ho-Ho. And then Make the World Clamor is just, it's kind of mid. Gives you start of turn energy and then increased ult damage, which is nice. But if we look at any of the other light counts, like this free-to-play one, this gives you the 24% with 24% attack, right? So it's kind of like not even that worth it at the end of the day if it's only buffing your ultimate, right? So yeah, that's basically it for should you summon. Maybe I rambled on too long, but again, the TLDR that I gave at the beginning is if you want, again, I always say this, summon for who you want, but Acheron is worth summoning for, 100%, I'd say. Just keep in mind, you're going to have to make sure you build your characters properly, like everyone else, all right? That being said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.